Before we get to today's video, I just wanted to explain that in the coming weeks, you will be seeing a little bit more content that may not be completely related to wrestling. As I mentioned in previous videos, I am just trying to throw some new content ideas at the wall and see what sticks. And that includes What Does This Mean to You?, where I, basically take a quote that I find online or, know offhand from a famous person, whether it be an author or a singer, a athlete, politician, whoever it might have been, that I said a quote that I enjoy, that I like or thought was worth sharing, and I basically just put it to a video, and I ask, what does this mean to you? And then, pose a question to you in the comment section. That's one of the new content ideas. It's a short video, it's an easy video, and just, straight to the point. Other than that, it's gonna be mostly wrestling for the foreseeable future, but if things change, I'll let you know. But you will be seeing some content that may not be completely wrestling related in the near future, and depending on how it goes, maybe seeing some more. I just wanted to let you guys know before today's video. Now with that out of the way, let's get to today's video. It's that time of the week again. We're back in 1996 and back with the WWF. But we're on the only show that hasn't been covered in this series so far, and that is WWF Metal. We have a very special edition of Metal tonight, because it is the scene of the final first round match in the King of the Ring tournament, with Rob Van Dam going up against the Irish Iron Man Shane Shamrock in the final first round match of the King of the Ring. I earned my way in to the tournament, and Iron Man is a tough test, but one I can get past. Thus far, Rob has been feuding with, recently Rob's been feuding with Raven and Raven's crew, so that's where it's a little bit of everything. At this point, we are every other tournament match, as I've mentioned, considering today's the last one. The other first round matches have happened and seen Brian Pillman, Steve Austin, Terry Funk, Brian Pillman, Steve Austin, Terry Funk, Brian Pillman, Steve Austin, Terry Funk, Owen Hart, Too Cold Scorpio, Bret Hart, and Mankind thus far advance in the tournament. And Rob Van Dam, as I mentioned, Rob Van Dam and Irish Iron Man are the last. And that means next week on Raw, round 2 begins. With Brian Pillman against Steve Austin. Yes, the Hollywood Blondes will be fighting each other in the second round next week. Bret Hart, Too Cold Scorpio, and Mankind versus the winner of tonight's match. Discuss how round 2 is shaping up. The one thing I've been looking into this time is I've been looking at talent that needs to stick around and talent that could actually disappear. You know, talent that I don't really need anymore because either they've been here long enough, or been here for a while and have done basically everything they can do, or that I have nothing for them to do and just have had nothing for them to do for a while and should, you know, would benefit from them leaving. You know. And some of those guys are have been in the King of the Ring, like Jerry Lynn, the challenge from Pearl River Diesel for a rematch, but think it would help if I spelled rematch right. But think that they should handle their issues with Public Enemy first before jumping into something with the rock and roll. But like Bob Orton, he's on his way out. Bob Orton, Jerry Lynn. Well, actually, it's just Bob Orton, Jerry Lynn, because I didn't want to make it too obvious that a lot of people were, like, I didn't want to make it too one-sided with just having people who had no business in the tournament being in the tournament, and by people having no business being in the tournament, I mean people who, you know, within a month were going to be out of the company. Because then it was like, okay, well, they just set up the tournament this way to use people, you know, to give these guys easy victories. But either way, you know, this is, you know, Metal has just been what it is. It's a building block show to help get guys over. You know, for the longest time it was Mosh is home brand, I guess you could put it, where I got him over and now he's a mid-carder. It hasn't worked as well with Shane Shamrock, but I've been trying with him and Sean Morley as a tag team, which is where this segment comes in. Sean Morley and Irish Iron Man have been teaming together for the last couple of weeks, but after Shane found his way into the King of the Ring, the jealousy reared its ugly head, and Sean Morley started, you know, made it pretty clear that he doesn't appreciate Shamrock putting himself before the team. And why, and what it was with him talking to Men on a Mission about Sean Morley. So things are hitting a boiling point with Morley and Iron Man after a few months of being together as a team. Speaking of Men on a Mission, Sean Morley fought Mo. See, for a couple weeks, Sean Morley and Irish Iron Man were teaming together against local talent, and then Men on a Mission put out a challenge to fight Sean Morley and Iron Man as their first challenge against an official team, against a real team. And Men on a Mission beat him. Since then, since then there's been growing issues between Morley and Iron Man, and it all goes back to Men on a Mission. Now we go back to Rob Van Dam, who won a battle royal to get into the tournament, to get into the King of the Ring, and he faces the Iron Man tonight in the final first round match. The announcers go over what round 2 brackets look like. As I mentioned, Brian Pillman versus Steve Austin, Owen Hart versus Terry Funk, Bret Hart versus Too Cold Scorpio, and Mankind versus the winner of tonight's match between Rob Van Dam and Shane Shamrock. Tony DeVito loses to Steve Armstrong. Steve Armstrong came in just as depth, and Tony DeVito is actually one of those guys that I was looking at the roster and saying, I haven't had something for him to do for a while, and maybe it's time to let him go. And this kind of, him putting over Steve Armstrong, mind you, I did not pick the winner. The game picked Steve Armstrong to win, which kind of, puts forth a little, points out a little evidence of DeVito's status in the eyes of the computer. Rock and Roll accept the challenge from Pearl River Diesel, Ahmed Johnson, and Big Daddy Cool, but point out that they should handle their problems with Public Enemy before stepping up to try and fight the Rock and Roll again. And now we hit the main event. A little history lesson here. I want to say starting in about 1993 or 1992, Rob Van Dam and Tony DeVito both debuted and started teaming together. And they teamed together until, I think, last year. If not last year, the year before. I don't really remember. But then it got to the point where I was just like, they're a mediocre team. Let's just break them apart, have them do something together, and see what happens. Rob Van Dam found his footing outside of the tag team for obvious reasons, because Rob Van Dam has the potential. I'm not going to say that Tony DeVito didn't have potential, because I'm a firm believer if you give somebody the tools to succeed, then it's their problem, not yours. It's just that Tony DeVito, there was a foundation there as he was an established heel with the company from working with Rob Van Dam as a tag team partner, but I was never, there's a lot of flesh but little substance with Tony DeVito, in my opinion. Like, if I wanted to pick somebody that I still would like to find something to make work with, that would be Brian Clark, who is one of Slick's clients, and just so happens Tony DeVito's also managed by Slick. And, reality is Brian Clark is one of the few people that I'm not doing anything with right now, but I would like to figure something out for him to do. Because I do see potential in Brian Clark, but I don't see potential in Tony DeVito. And it's not necessarily that I don't see potential in him because, he's not that good. He's been, I feel like I've done everything with him that I can do, and I've tried to make him something more, but it just never panned out. I'm not excited about Tony DeVito, and this is not anything against him as a wrestler. He's a good tag team wrestler. It's just that I don't need any tag teams right now, and he just doesn't fit in to the picture. Speaking of somebody who fits into the picture, Mike Anthony, who I called Negro Tigre, Black Tiger, but instead of Black Tiger as he's called in Japan, I made him Black Tiger as he would be called in Mexico. Since returning as the Black Tiger, he has not lost. He is undefeated since returning as the Black Tiger, beating Juventud Guerrero, Strongman Mestino, I think Mikey Whipwreck and a few others since he's been back a couple weeks. And this is exactly why I love B shows, because it gives me the opportunity to give people like Negro, why do I keep calling him Negro Cassis? Negro Tigre, and Men on a Mission, and Sean Morley, and Irish Iron Man, a place to hone their craft and get over before moving them to the main show. The one thing that I did not do on this show that I have been doing is the angle with the women's division where Medusa and has been getting secret admirer notes, but the reality is it's not. The notes aren't for her. And Bison Kimura found out about it, and now Bison wants Medusa to come clean that the notes have been for Debbie and not Debbie Malenko and not for Medusa. Yes, I know it sounds like a very soap opera angle, or sort of a soap opera angle, but it's keeping the women on television. You know, it's just something I've been pushing on the B show as I build it up to move it to the A show. But either way, you know, this is B shows are supposed to be where the young talent hone their craft and get them and it's supposed to be something that gets them ready for the A show. I know that this isn't really showing any moving forward as far as moving towards the Attitude Era, but I guess the point in recording this was to show that not every show needs to push it forward if I'm aware of the long-term plan. Because King of the Ring comes first, you know, King of the Ring comes first as the bigger picture is concerned, and everything else is secondary as far, you know, but the big picture, you know, the small picture is King of the Ring. The short-term plan is King of the Ring. The short-term plan, or the long-ish term plan, is SummerSlam. But the big picture is transitioning to a more attitude, more of a TV-14-esque programming, and less PG or, you know, new generation. More Attitude Era, less new generation. But the change is not going to happen right away. It's a big picture, long term, over, you know, through various storylines, through various actions and character development. It's not going to happen right away. It's going to happen slow and progressive, as it should. Because then you could change the you know, you might be able to find a guy like a Steve Armstrong who may not, or Tony DeVito, who might not fit now, but with a character change might fit the Attitude Era, and it might allow them to keep a job. You know, or a bounty hunter might not fit one program, you know, one type of programming, but would fit another completely. You know what I mean? Something like that. Because even somebody with a new attitude fits one programming, but may not fit another type of programming. Either way, me trying to sound smart, the plan is still in place, but this is just a buffer show in between. Well, that's what B shows are. Buffer shows in between the A show. So, just wanted to, I guess, you know, just a little update and show you the B show feuds that are going on right now, and that the first round of the King of the Ring is officially over, and the field reads Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Terry Funk, the Hollywood Blondes, Too Cold Scorpio, Mankind, and now Rob Van Dam fills out the end of as we end round 1 and head to round 2 of the King of the Ring. That the tournament lays out like this: Brian Pillman versus Steve Austin, Owen Hart versus Terry Funk, Bret Hart versus Too Cold Scorpio, and Mankind versus Rob Van Dam. Round 2 starts next week on Raw, and you will find out next time what the finals of the King of the Ring are shaping out to be, and who, and even possibly who, wins the King of the Ring tournament for 1996. Until then, let me know in the comment section below if anybody on this show you think could fit the Attitude Era, or if you think needs to be let go before or as we progress towards a new era in the WWF. Or let me know down in the comment section below what your opinion is on the King of the Ring. If you don't want to leave a comment but still want to show that you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. And before you go, do not forget to ding down that notification bell to always know when a new video is up on the channel and any other activity. Till next time. See you next week.